How much time you were giving per day to read the content?
If I talk about a number of hours, I could give only 3 to 5 hours.
When was the date when you had done one full reading, start to end, of the overall content for the exam?
I would say October first week.
Which chapter you felt was very tough for you?
It might be funny. For me, the most tough chapters were actually chapter 8, 9, 10.
Thought in the mind of whether I'm going to pass or fail.
I had no idea.
Hello guys, I hope everybody is doing good. Hi, this is Ganesh Nayak. I help finance professionals and students to excel in their career and become better version of themselves. And I also help students who are preparing for competitive exams in finance like CFA, FRM and SCR. And today I am with one of my students who has been able to clear the SCR exam, okay, in the October 2025 attempt. And he's going to be talking about his journey of preparing for the exam and what has been his overall learning. So we have with us Anuj. Anuj, can you give us a brief about yourself, a brief introduction about yourself?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, first of all. Hi, guys. I am Anuj. I just cleared my GARP SCR exam 2 months back. To introduce myself, I work in a multinational bank and I primarily work in the climate space. It's been 3.5 years I have been into the climate space. Right now, my role is more aligned towards climate data management. So it's a kind of a project management role. But I have about 2.5 years of work experience in climate risk modeling. Overall, I have around 6-7 years of work experience.
So Anuj, when did you decided that you want to go for this exam? Because you are already working in the climate risk space.
Right. Initially, I had thought point that I already work into climate space, so I don't need an certification to enhance, or I'm already into space. I have work experience. But slowly, gradually, I realized in the organization, of course, a lot of people have the certification already. I work with folks sitting in London, sitting in France. Although the certification did not help them get some promotion or get some more exposure, but yeah, it's an edge. It's a validation that you have a wider knowledge. While I was working in climate risk, that work was primarily associated to the model which we are developing or new guidelines or regulations which are there. But exactly how climate is impacting globally or what impact it has on Earth, and those things were not studied. Of course, we were just concerned to the work we were doing. To have a wider understanding, to have a better discussion platform, we need to have that knowledge base. So yeah, that's when I decided. And of course, my organization also supports such certification. So they sponsored the entire fee as well for me. So that was another, yeah. But the only criteria is you have to pass the exam. So then only they'll.
Right. And when did you started your overall preparation for the exam?
Overall preparation, I got introduced to SCR pretty early. I would say 2024 also, I studied few chapters. I had the book with me. But yeah, primarily for this particular exam, sitting as a thinking that I'll give an exam, I started from around starting of August. I can
So August till October, how much time you were giving per day to read the content?
Okay, being very honest, August was very hectic work-wise for me. So could only manage few couple of hours on weekends. I already had idea for chapter 6, chapter 7, which are actually related to my work. So those chapters, reading through those chapters were pretty easy for me. If I talk about a number of hours, I could give only 3 to 5 hours per weekend in August. But yeah, coming to September or after mid-September, I informed my organization also that I'll need some time. So they gave me some buffer in work. So yeah, I started giving those 2 to 3 hours per day instead of just weekends.
When was the date when you had done one full reading, start to end, of the overall content for the exam?
I would say October first week. One reading I did. Then I started with the course, the question bank.
Question bank solving, Fintelligent question
Yeah,
bank solving.
Fintelligents
But
question.
when you were done one reading, one full reading of the content, which chapter you felt was very tough for you?
It might be funny. For me, the most tough chapters were actually chapter 8, 9, 10, which are actually shorter, but it has too much information to remember. To additional to that, chapter 4 was tougher. Again, too much information, too much jargons, too many milestones that COP1 happened in this year, COP5 happened, and what new changes were there. To remember those milestones were tougher for me.
And when you started solving the question bank, the Fintelligents question bank, each chapter had around 3-4 quizzes. So what was your approach? I mean, did you also did one more reading and then you solved, or immediately started solving all the chapters questions?
So what I did was I was actually experimenting while doing the question bank. So initially I started solving the questions first. Then I realized I should have a walkthrough, or I should have a rereading of the chapters. So I quickly made snippets of each chapter. Maybe I'll sit for around 2 hours and make notes of each chapter, reading through chapter one and then giving one mock for that chapter. Probably within 2 days. One day I'll make some notes, I'll revise that and give mock on that day. Second day also I'll give another quiz for that particular chapter. Basically, chapter by chapter, I did quizzes and I went through the chapter.
When did you complete all the chapter-wise questions? And when was your exam date?
November 1st was my exam date. I gave it on Saturday. When did I complete? So honestly, I could not complete entire question bank because I did not have enough time. 2 weeks, 3 weeks only I had. Around 17th, 18th of October, I completed at least going through each chapter and giving one or two mocks for that particular chapter.
What was the score?
Score. In the mocks, I used to score 80% was my target also. So in few chapters, I used to score 90% also. In few chapters, I was scoring 70. But on an average, 80% I was scoring.
I'm also talking about the score in your full-length mocks, the Fintelligent mocks.
Full length mock was actually less. It was about 70%.
So out of 90, so around 60 something you were getting, 63.
63, 65.
And what about the GARP sample paper? You got time to solve that also once?
I did that once as well. It was similar. I mean, to me, those papers felt similar. Your question bank and GARP sample paper felt very similar. So the score was also very similar for me.
When you went to the actual exam, okay, and you started solving, so what happened in that first 1 hour?
First 1 hour. So one thing which I noticed, so they have 4 hour exam. While I was practicing, I used to give myself 2 minutes per question. But in the actual exam, you have much more time. 1 hour, I ran like a sprint, solved a lot of questions, and then I realized I have enough time. I can reread them also. I slowed down after an hour. The first hour, I was solving it very quickly.
Interesting. And overall, the time frame was manageable for you, the 4 hours, 90 questions. And did you find any calculation-based questions in the exam?
There were one or two, not many, and very simple calculation. Nothing to be worried about that calculation. There will be some errors in calculation. The option wise also you'll understand that if your calculation is wrong or you can approximate those. So it wasn't very tough.
And with respect to the overall difficulty level, when you compare it to the GARP sample paper, so what was the comparison for you?
To me, actually, I felt a little tougher, but probably that was an examination atmosphere. But overall, I won't say it felt like a pressure zone or maybe I'm unable to answer or unable to understand. Just a bit notch tougher than.
When you came out of the actual exam paper, what was the thought in the mind that whether I'm going to pass or fail? What was happening in the mind?
I had no idea. To be very honest, I had no idea that if this went well or no, because questions are framed in such a way that you won't be 100% sure that what I'm answering is right. Of course, out of 80 questions, I knew about 20 to 30 questions I have answered right. I'm confident of that. Next 10-20 questions, there might be slight chance I missed something or missed some understanding in the question. That was my mind frame. So I called my parents after the exam. So I told them that I have no idea what will happen because it's a very competitive exam also. Usually what I read online, you need about 50 to 60 questions to be correct. So of course, I cannot do 100% correct. That was, I was sure there would be some mistake. If I've done 30 questions wrong, that is gone. I'll fail. But 20 questions are wrong, then I'll pass.
And now when the results are out, what has been your cortex for each chapter, if you remember?
So for the first chapter, it was 1. Second chapter is 2. Third chapter 2. Then 3, 3. 2, 2, 2, 3, 3.
So last 2 chapters, which are the new chapters, you got third quartile. And also with respect to case study, so did you found both the case studies manageable?
Manageable, but yes, very interesting. Case studies were actually very interesting to solve. My weak points were chapter 9 and 10, which I mentioned earlier. So yes, I fumbled in 1 or 2 questions in case study because they were tougher than normal exam. Case studies questions were a little tougher. They had calculation also. It was fun to solve that. But yeah, it could be manageable if probably I would have sat with those 2 chapters and memorized or understood them better.
If you read those 2 chapters properly, you feel that you would be able to tackle that.
You need to solve a lot of questions. We can solve Fintelligent questions, question bank. We can use that. But yeah, you need to practice a lot to solve those things. Not just reading. Reading won't suffice.
If you can give us 3 tips from your experience of how to prepare and clear this exam.
Out of my mistake, I can give one of the tips. While reading, at times it can become monotonous, it can become too much of information. So it's better to break your planning or whatever study plan you have. Do chapter 1, then do questions. Always supplement your reading and understanding with question bank. Instead of going through the chapter or the book entirely, because that will become monotonous to you. It will become too much of information will be there, and you'll keep forgetting. While you have reached chapter 4, you'll keep forgetting what I read in chapter 4. So it's better to solve questions along with reading material. And whatever time frame you have, of course people have different time frame. They might have jobs, they might have hectic jobs, so you should plan in early. Reading of entire one chapter will take time, because you have to read it slow, you have to understand and make notes, make highlights or keynotes of each chapter. That will help in the end, again, while you are solving or revising the chapter.
So, Anush, thank you very much for this wonderful conversation, because I'm sure this is going to be helpful for a lot of students who are going to prepare. And you being from the climate risk background also, and you thought that no, I have to do a formal certification around the work which I'm doing, also adds a value to the conversation. So, I'm definitely sure your journey of clearing the exam is going to be very helpful for a lot of students. So, thank you again for taking out time and talking to us.
Thank you for the curriculum you have designed as well. That helped a lot, to be very honest. So thanks a lot.